Explore. I'm Mary Ruth Snyder. We are coming to you from the Tidemark Theatre in the city of Campbell River. We have a very special show for you today. We have not one but two guests, one here in the studio and one joining us virtually, because there is so much to talk about. They are joining us from the Campbell River and District Association for Community Living. We have the brand new Executive Director, Rachel Weaver, and longtime employee, Michelle Albrecht, who is the Director of Human Resources and Education, which we are going to talk about in the last segment. Ladies, welcome so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. We're really thrilled to be here.
Now, Michelle, we're going to be hearing from you in the next segment and the last segment, but we are going to begin with Rachel. Rachel, you've been in the job for 8 months. What a time to take over an executive director position in the middle of a pandemic.
And in a social services agency that is heavily focused around healthcare. It's been terrifying. It was a surprising job to be offered, a thrilling job to be offered, and I'm incredibly grateful and blessed to be there, but certainly it came with a healthy dose of fear and a pretty steep learning curve for me. So it's been quite a roller coaster of 8 months.
Now, have you always worked in social services? Where did you get your start?
I have never worked in social services, so yes. I actually have a background in television, so not a direct relationship, but I have a fair bit of business experience from my years in TV, and oddly enough, a lot of similarities in how the organization of the association is run and how I ran the TV networks that I worked at.
Now, where was it that you did this television work?
So I finished college in the United States in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
Go Buffs! And I was very fortunate to be offered a variety of television positions over the years in Colorado. So I did not have to live in Los Angeles. I did not have to live in New York, although I like both of those places very much. But I also like to ski and ride horses, not so doable in either one of those cities.
Correct.
So I was, I actually started in broadcast news, the McNeil-Lara NewsHour, which was the national news on public television, and in fact is still on American public television, and I think is the longest running news show possibly on US TV. And then I moved along to a ski movie company, actually, Warren Miller Films, which is kind of an iconic big mountains, lifestyle, ski lifestyle company. That was a really amazing place to learn about film, not just television, but actual real 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter film.
Right.
And from there, I had the great fortune of being asked to join a team that was launching the first high-definition television network in North America. That was all high-definition TV back when high definition existed, but it was just incredibly expensive and prohibitive for networks to implement the infrastructure to do that. And the gentleman who started the network that I worked for was independently wealthy and very much a techie person, and he wanted to go for it. He's quite a trendsetter, and so I was on the basically the launch team for a network that really broke a lot of ground in the United States and was also broadcast here in Canada.
Wow, how very exciting.
It was. I'm really lucky. I had a really fantastic, let's call it a first career, and am now embarking on an equally fantastic second career.
Now, how on earth did you get from Boulder, Colorado to Campbell River?
Yes, fortuitous trip. So my mother actually relocated to Vancouver Island about 14 years ago. We're all originally from Eastern Canada, but my father actually did his doctoral degree at the University of Colorado and always wanted one of his children to follow in his footsteps. And I guess I was the lucky one. So, but when my mom returned to Canada from living in Colorado, she ended up on the island. So I'd been coming to visit for many years. And on one of those trips, I thought to myself, if I ever were to return to Canada, I could really see myself living here. So 3 years ago, when I made the decision to come back to be closer to her, she's aging, and to be closer to family, this is where I ended up. But I only made it up the highway as far as the Comox Valley, so I didn't quite make it to Campbell River at that point. So
you live in the Comox Valley, but you work here in Campbell River.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I really have the best of both locations.
All right. Well, yes, for sure. Now, what was the thing that struck you the most about Vancouver Island? Because there is very little comparison between Boulder, Colorado, and being on an island, other than the mountains.
And you know what? You just nailed it. It was the mountains. I actually, I wasn't sure when I got here that I would be staying. I actually drove up for kind of an extended visit. And I was hiking with a girlfriend one day, or we meant to be hiking at Mount Washington in the spring, and there was too much snow. And we turned around and saw an exit for Cumberland and thought, well, we'll go check that out. And as we drove into Cumberland, the backdrop is a gigantic mountain, and it really reminded me of where I had last lived in Colorado. And I thought, I could live here, except that there was no housing. Huge problem. So then I ended up buying a house, and then, you know, once you own a house, then you might as well live in that house.
Oh, completely.
So I'm still here.
Yes, but I will say Cumberland has something that nobody else on Vancouver Island has.
Is it the ghost town?
Nope.
Oh, I don't know. What is it?
The Dark Side Chocolatier.
Oh, I have not been in. I actually have not, but you have inspired me.
How could you live in Cumberland and not go to the dark side?
Well, I make it as far as Love's ice cream, and I don't get any further up the road.
Okay, okay. Long story. So back to TV land. Years ago, like prior to my role as the Campbell River and District Chamber of Commerce Executive Director, I worked at Shaw TV for 6-7 years. And so we were always covering really unique stories because we did features. And this very young woman, Allison McKenzie, opened up a chocolatier shop, and she did it, everything is made by hand, all of her truffles. And one of the really unique things she does, and we are trying to get her to open a store here in Campbell River, I'm working on her, is that she partners with all of the local distilleries and wineries for the flavors.
Oh, man.
And it's ethically sourced chocolate, which nobody else can, on the island that I'm aware of, can actually lay claim to for that piece. They are absolutely fantastic and worth the trip. I cannot believe you live in Cumberland and you haven't been. Well, that's shocking to me.
Most people are shocked that I live in Cumberland and I don't own a mountain bike. So nobody has given me the chocolate comparison, but I will absolutely check it out.
All right, you absolutely have to. Okay, so back to the fact that you're living in Cumberland, working in Campbell River, and now you're 8 months into the job that you started in the middle of a global pandemic, and it's a health support organization. What did you do first?
I took a very deep breath, and then I very quickly became grateful for the amazing administrative team that the association has, and they were unbelievably welcoming, but also the amount of time they spent educating me about every aspect of the association. I just honestly tried to learn as much as I possibly could about everything that we did, and while maintaining day-to-day operations. But I literally tried to involve myself in every meeting, every conversation. That's how I learn, is just by listening to other people. And it is, nowhere near am I to the end of that education, but I think I've done all right, and I have an amazing, amazing group of people to work with every day, so that's helped a lot.
Well, for those of us that have had the great privilege and pleasure to have anything to do with the association over the last several decades, you have stepped into an amazing situation with a fantastic group of people, and they just have such an amazing reputation, well deserved. So good on you for for landing there on that.
Well, I feel very fortunate. Every day I am happy to walk through that door, and I think that's so important in your work life. I think you do a much better job when you're happy doing what you're doing.
Yes.
And for me, I love people. I love people's stories. I love helping people where possible, and I feel like I get to do all of those things in my current position, and it's full of gratitude for that.
Excellent.
And to the board for hiring me.
Yes, great foresight on their part. We are going to take a short break, but when we come back, we will be joined by Michelle, and we'll have a conversation about a little bit of the history of the organization. You are watching Explore. We are coming to you from the Tidemark Theatre. Stay right where you are. We will be right back. Welcome back to Explore. I'm Mary Ruth Snyder. Joining me is Michelle Albright, and she is coming to us virtually from the Campbell Riverine District Association of Community Living. And with me here in studio is Rachel Weaver, the Executive Director. Welcome, Michelle. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure. Now, Michelle, how many years have you been with the organization?
Well, I've been here for 25 years. Prior to that, I was here when the organization was essentially first developed, and it was my first job when I was old enough to work. So I've been in the field for 47 years. Let's just put it that way.
Wow. Now, how old is the organization itself?
We will be 60 years old this year, in October, actually.
Oh, excellent. So do you have some celebrations planned?
Well, we're working on that, but absolutely, yes. October also happens to not only be our 60th anniversary, but it's also Inclusion Month, or Community Inclusion Month. So it'll be a dual celebration.
Well, looking forward to that. Now, hopefully by then, we will all be able to gather, fingers crossed, in person. I know that BC is doing an excellent job with its vaccinations. I think we're just a little over 60% now, which is great. And we're not in June yet. So hopefully you'll be able to have some in-person open houses and just get everybody together to really explore the history of 60 years of being involved in the community in such an amazing way. When you think back, Michelle, do you have one memory that stands out for you?
Wow, that's a huge question. It's kind of hard to explain, but at a time, the association was born in 1961. So it was born in a time when people who had children who had disabilities were essentially encouraged or somewhat forced to put their children into institutions. So what I remember when it first started was a bit of a struggle in, well, do we send our children to institutions or do we keep them home?
Right.
And just the incredible people that said, no, we keep them home, and the fight and just how it all started, and just that the values that those families had were incredible.
Now, how have you seen the organization change over the last 60 years? What is the one thing that stands out about that shift?
Well, it's growth for one thing. The organization started as a small little school called the Arbutus School, and there was about 8 students in 1961. And through the hard work of families and advocates, the organization has grown to, I mean, its growth is incredible. We have over 200 employees, 27 programs, probably close to 600 clients.
Wow.
So yeah, in a short period of time, really a relatively huge growth.
Through the pandemic, what has been the most challenging aspect for the staff?
Staying connected with clients. That's our whole reason for being, is to support the people that we support. And so staying connected and helping people to stay connected to the community themselves. You know, when you're locked down, it's pretty hard to find enough things to do to help people to essentially live their best lives. So that's been a huge challenge for staff.
And then moving forward, when are you hoping to be able to offer the programs in person again?
We would love to have done that yesterday, but you know, we're hoping that perhaps by the summertime we'll be able to open up a little bit more. But I guess a lot will just depend.
All right. Now, so what do you think of your new executive director?
What's to say? She's amazing. No,
Thank
we
you,
have
Michelle.
an incredible amount of energy.
Now,
Yeah,
as Rachel was explaining, she doesn't have a background in the social services area. Have you enjoyed the opportunity to provide that in-depth education to her?
Oh, 100-fold. Anybody who knows me will tell you that any opportunity I have to provide some little bit of education or a little bit of training will know that's my absolute passion. And so Rachel can probably look out for a whole lot more of that to happen.
I'm very fortunate that Michelle is so generous with her time and in sharing not just the history of the association, because I think that's such an important part. If you know your history, you can work toward your future, but also just her knowledge of the ins and outs of how this particular kind of social services agency should operate. We do have a large staff, and working to not only support our clients to live the best life possible, but also we want the best life possible for our staff too. And making sure that all of the rules and regulations are adhered to. There's so many subtle nuances that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, both internally with our funders, and Michelle's experience. I mean, Michelle has forgotten more than I'll probably ever know, but to have her to work with has been a great gift. And very sadly for us, she will be retiring at the end of December. So, but she'll be on my direct dial and my text. She's not getting away that easily.
Michelle, what are your plans come December 31st? What are you going to do on January 1st?
Well, I think we're probably going to load up the motorhome, and hopefully we're going to do some traveling, and I'm going to spend some time with grandkids. Yeah.
She's going to go into a no-cell zone, so I can't get in touch with her.
Oh. Now, when you think ahead to October and the celebration of 60 years, what are you starting to envision that might look like, and how the community can maybe be engaged in that with you?
Well, I certainly see a role for the history of the organization and however that looks, if that's a display of some sort, or I think it's just really important that we don't lose the history. There's not a lot of people around anymore that were here back in 1961 when it all started, and so I just think in some way we need to preserve that history. So I see that as being a big role for the community to be proud of the association and how they've supported us, and their role, the community's role in the provision of services to people with disabilities. So I see that as being a really big factor.
We have an employment division that one of the things that has struck me profoundly is how many local companies employ our clients. And as Michelle mentioned in one of our many conversations, Campbell River is an incredibly inclusive city. And people, families who had children with disabilities would actually relocate here because of this particular community. And Michelle, you can speak more to that, but I think it just speaks volumes about the quality of people that live in this area. It is incredible. Really an amazing, amazing story.
Awesome. Now we are going to take a short break. You're watching Explore. We are coming to you from the Tidemark Theatre. We'll be right back with Executive Director Rachel Weaver and Michelle Albright, Director of Human Resources and Education from the Campbell River and District Association for Community Living.
I want to bring to attention food security and the importance of home gardening.
If BC Ferries or any of our distribution lines were disrupted, we have anywhere between 2 and 3 days of food max.
We can't eat grass.
Why are we mowing lawns when we could just be growing stuff to nourish ourselves?
It's just one other example of how gardening can help heal this situation that we're all finding ourselves in.
Welcome back to Explore. We are joined by Michelle Albrecht from the Campbell River and District Association for Community Living. She is the Director of Human Resources and Education, as well as the brand new Executive Director, Rachel Weaver, who's joining us in studio. Michelle is joining us virtually through Zoom. Now, Michelle, we are going to talk about the future of what's coming up in the fall. I understand if you could maybe explain the college. What is the college?
Okay, so back in 2014, we were brainstorming, I guess, ideas around recruitment. That's where it started off with recruitment. And what we were finding was that we weren't necessarily seeing the resumes that we were wanting to in terms of people who were actually trained specifically to work with people who have developmental disabilities in community and residential-based programs. And we thought about that and thought about, well, hey, we have a big resource base. We've got people who are very knowledgeable. Perhaps we could do our own training. And it sort of started from there. It started with actually myself running a few workshops, doing some internal training, to then imagining that we could actually be a portal, if you will, to education and learning as it relates to people with disabilities. And it grew from there. It became part of our strategic plan in 2014, and we applied to at the time it was called the Private Training Institutions Career Branch. And anyway, now it is the Private Training Branch with the Ministry of Advanced Education's Jobs and Skills Training.
Okay.
And so we opened our doors. Yeah, and we're now fully designated by the Ministry of Advanced Education, and we provide a community support worker certificate program.
And when will the training in the fall begin?
The next program starts on September 13th. It is a considered to be a full-time program. It's 20 hours a week of classroom instruction, so 3 days a week, and runs through for 13 weeks, ending, I believe it's December 8th would be the last day of instruction. So, yeah.
Okay. And so are you taking applications now, and do you take applications right up into its start? If you can give us kind of the parameters for that?
Yeah, so we are taking applications now. There are ads out there for anybody that rides on the local transit system. Will see our ads in the local buses right now. So yes, we are taking registration. They can go to our website, which is www.cradacl.bc.ca, and click on the college tab, and there's a pathway there that you can register. You can contact the CRADACL office, and we can arrange to get a registration package for you. Or you can simply contact me directly by email, and the easiest email to get me at is humanresources@cradacl.bc.ca.
All right. Now, do you have a limit to how many people are able to participate?
Well, that is still a little bit up in the air. Our registration, or sorry, our designation allows us for up to 20. We have been told by the ministry that we can expect a full in-class opening
Okay.
come September. However, I'm being a little bit cautious. Probably not going to open it up to 20, but maybe 12. So a little bit up in the air right now. We're waiting to kind of see what happens with COVID and the reopening.
Is there any opportunity for you to do a blended offering where you offer some virtual and then some in classroom? I think a lot of the universities are looking at that model for September. Is that something you could consider?
We did when COVID did first hit last year. We
Okay.
Actually changed our entire program and it was all delivered online.
Okay.
Not my preference, but yes, that's definitely an option.
Okay.
So we're set up for it if we needed to go that way.
Because then you would still be able to accommodate the 20 people, and then you would not lose the number of people graduating that you need in the organization.
Yeah, I think, we'll see how the application process rolls out, and
Okay.
depending on the level of interest, I think we can make accommodations either way, which is an advantage. The college is such an important part of the association. To have your own college is quite impressive, and staffing in general is so difficult.
Right.
On Vancouver Island and across the province, and for us to be able to potentially train our own future staff to best support our clients is such a great foresight on behalf of the association from when the college started, and to have Michelle as an instructor with her level of experience. I feel like we get to kind of cherry pick and create the best supporting staff for the people that we serve. So we're excited to be able to continue that this fall, hopefully more in person than what we were able to do last year.
Awesome. Well, Michelle, we are out of time. I explained that this goes by very, very fast. Nobody ever believes me. And then we're done. We're like, it's over? So Michelle, in closing, do you have anything that you would like to share in closing with us?
Well, I just really want to, first of all, say thank you for the opportunity to meet with you and to get the word out there that CRADACL is here and the college is here. Yeah, and if people have questions or people would like to know more information about us, then please reach out to us, and I am certainly more than happy to meet and chat with people about who we are and what we do and about the college. Very proud of what we do. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, so much for squeezing us into your very busy day. And Rachel, any closing comments from you, the brand new executive director?
Oh, again, I said this at the beginning, but mostly one of gratitude. I have to say I've been very fortunate in my life to have met wonderful people, but I have met truly the most amazing people since I landed on Vancouver Island, and in particular here in Campbell River. I think this association, the mission of supporting people and their families in living an inclusive life and living a fair and just and good quality of life is so important. And I am really proud that I get to do that every day, and thankful that the community supports us in our mission. And I'm really excited to see where we're going to go in the future. I think there's so many opportunities for us as an association, for our clients, and it's an exciting time.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And we will check back about these celebrations for the anniversary in October. We'll keep everybody apprised about that. You've been watching Explore. We've been coming to you from the Tidemark Theatre. Please join us again.